Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we are going to look at the expansion for RWBY Combat Ready, Villains expansion by Arcane Wonders. So let's go ahead down to the table here. I'm going to give you a general overview of what you get with this expansion, and then we'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. So this is what you're going to get in for the expansion, the Villains expansion for RWBY Combat Ready. You're going to get some really cool new cards for each of the main characters that they can select to level up to, which is really nice. And you can just incorporate this in the base game and all the other scenarios with no problem. So all those are good. Same with the different villain decks you get there. You can add them in there and they just add extra flavor to them, which is really nice and changes the strategy up on each of the villains slightly. So I do like that a lot. So you get a lot of cards with this game, which is nice. And it adds more to the game, which is really nice. It's basically what an expansion should do. So, and some of the villains that might have been slightly too easy, not really like completely easy, but some of the villains that fell a little flat are fixed with this, which is really nice. And like again, I said, it's really nice to have more to pick from for the main characters, although in the base game you do get a bunch. So if you're not doing the season, you probably won't upgrade everything anyway. But if you're playing the season, this stuff's wonderful for that. And in the season, basically in the base game, if you haven't watched a review, is basically where you can play a lot of the scenarios back to back, and there's a chart on the back that determines which order you want to do them in and based on the difficulty you want to have in the game. So here's RWBY. So there's a lot of cool cards with RWBY on here, and a 12 speed's always awesome. She's pretty generally a really fast character. And these cards here where you don't see any speeds on them, those are actually their ultimate abilities. And I believe you get 2 new ultimate abilities that you can upgrade to in each of these hero decks. You also get miniatures for each of the villains, which don't come with the base game. You just get miniatures for the heroes in the base game, so it's really nice to have miniatures for the villains. Although the miniatures in general don't do anything for the game, it's just really nice to have them there. And these would be really cool painted, so they would help with the immersion if they're painted up in there in the game. So I really do like the fact that they added the miniatures to them. And actually I wish they would have done this with the sub-boss expansion. Would have been really cool if they had miniatures for those characters too, and for future expansions and stuff. But in general, this is an extremely good expansion. But we'll go back up to the table here and I'll give you my final thoughts on the Villains expansion for RWBY Combat Ready. So the Villains expansion for RWBY Combat Ready is excellent. It's what an expansion should do. It just basically enhances the base game. It doesn't add any more complexity. It gives you miniatures for the bosses, which is really nice instead of the tokens that come with the base game. It gives you booster packs for both the villains and the heroes, so it gives you more variety in the game and more options that you can use throughout the game. So this, not a whole lot to say about this expansion, except for if you do own the base game, RWBY Combat Ready, I highly recommend getting this expansion because it, again, just adds more to the game without adding complexity. It gives you more decisions you can make, which is awesome. It's just overall very good. So I highly recommend RWBY Villains expansion if you own the base game. Thank you for watching.